once you see the mind, because most people don't see the mind. Most people are being the mind, right? They're being the voice, so they don't see it. You know, that's just what I'm thinking, right? But when I am aware of what I'm thinking, I'm not seeing the mind, I'm seeing who I think I am. You get that? When I'm being the thinker of the thoughts, I'm not aware of the mind, I'm aware of who I think I am. That's what's talking, right? So I can't see it. I'm being it, so I can't see it. That's why when you're really angry, you can't see it because you are that energy. You are that anger. And that's why that anger can be so destructive and so damaging, because the anger itself wants to hurt. It wants to destroy. That's the reason that these teachings are so important. Because without the teachings, what are you doing? Without the teachings, I mean, in meditation for the most part, as far as I'm aware of it, is being taught without the teachings. The possibility is to have a state of being that is equanimous, a state of being that's equanimous, right? What does that mean? It doesn't mean to have a state of being that's completely unaffected by anything. It doesn't mean that, right? Because people who grieve and who are upset at the death of somebody, especially a suicide or a sudden death of somebody, they do believe that this is terrible. They really do believe it's terrible. And what's the cause of their suffering?
What?
The belief,
How do you relate to
the belief that it's terrible. That's the cause of the suffering. The belief that it's terrible. There are societies that don't view death that way, and when somebody dies, they have a celebration. You know, it's nothing happened that's unusual. In fact, there are a lot of societies that the way they view death is the person has gone to a better existence than this existence. And so they celebrate that. But what we are aware of, what we teach, what we practice is that they didn't go anywhere. They didn't go anywhere. That's the way somebody looks at it from a belief system, but they didn't go anywhere. The most important thing for you to experience through meditation and these practices is that you are not going anywhere. You didn't come from anywhere, that's called birth, and you ain't going anywhere, that's called death. For you to have a direct, very clear experience of the awareness that is the reality of what you are, is to have an experience of that which did not come from anywhere and is not going anywhere. It is just here. It just is. It just is in the present moment, and that moment is eternity. Like Muji said, you only have one life, and that's forever. So your job as a human being is to arrive at that experience before the body drops. That's what this is all about, to arrive at the truth, to be experiencing the truth before the time-limited reality comes to a completion. The time-limited reality, the one that happens in space, called the human life, the time-limited reality, yeah. As a practice, you should, when you wake up in the morning, you should think of the person you hate the most and forgive them every day. See, you have to understand that, what the way the mind relates to it is, I can't forgive them. If I forgive them, they will have gotten away with it if I forgive them. And if I forgive them, then I won't pay attention to them like they're a threat in the future if I forgive them. I have to label them as an enemy, hate them, and not forgive them. Then I have them in the right place. I can deal with them, right? But the thing you're not seeing when you look at that is, who's suffering?
right, you're suffering?
Yeah. You're just causing your own suffering. That's all you're doing. In many cases, the other person doesn't even know you hate him. And in many cases, if they knew you hated him, they wouldn't give a shit. It wouldn't matter to them. They wouldn't spend a minute on that you hated them. So what are you doing? See, the thing is this, you have to understand something. It is possible not to hate, it is possible not to be upset and still be appropriate and behave in a way that's consistent with workability. Do you get that? That's the reason people don't want to let go. Oh, if I let go of that, right, I have to have a way of relating to my life that I can keep fixing what's wrong. I have to be able to fix what's wrong. Right? And I'm afraid that if I stop having a negative reaction, if I stop hating the people that are terrible and doing wrong things, right, that will let that all go on. That'll let that all go on. I can't let that all go on. See, that's survival talk, isn't it? That's survival talk. That comes from the nature of the mind, which is that I see everybody and anything as a potential threat to me. And so if they're behaving in a way that might affect me, if they're hurting other people and they're somebody that could end up hurting me, then I should hate them for that. The thing you have to understand is that you cannot hate and you cannot be upset and still act consistent with workability. You cannot hate and not be upset, and if somebody's hurting somebody in your presence, you would still intervene without being upset and without hating anybody, without being angry. You would still be able to behave in ways that are workable, and you would probably, for sure you would, you'd be more appropriate too. You'd be more appropriate. In other words, you would only do what needed to be done to control the situation so that the person getting hurt would stop getting hurt, like that. But you see, the thing is, you can be raised anyway, but the conditioning of your mind is not just a function of who you were raised by in terms of your parents, but you were raised by the collective human reality. You know, you were raised by the collective human beings, and the collective human beings has a bad reputation. The collective human beings has a bad reputation, you know. There's a lot of negative energy in the space of the collective consciousness. And so that's what's manifesting itself in war, that's what's manifesting itself in hateful behavior, and so forth and so on. The psyche, the human psyche, right, is complicated. It operates on various levels or at the same time. It operates from the past, it operates in the future, doesn't it? Yeah, so the personality is a complicated machine because it's operating with 3 times, and there aren't 3 times, right? So that takes us back to what I started out saying, and that is that where does all this occur? Where does it occur? Where is your life occurring? In your mind. That's what Radin's trying to get across. You never experience life outside of your mind. In fact, the only life you ever experience is a mental experience. That's where what shows up, isn't it? Whether it's a visual image, whether it's a thought, whether it's emotion, it's all occurring in the mind. The mind is like the space of consciousness in which what's happening happens. It's the mind. Therefore, if that mind, right, is being affected by causes that you take to be in the world, you're in deep trouble. Look at it. If your mind is being subjected to what happens in the world, right, you're in trouble because what happens in the world is unpredictable. Although it's unpredictable, it can be predicted that there will be negativity happening with a fair degree of consistency given the insanity of humanity, right? So if your experience is a function of what's happening in the world, yeah, there's going to be a lot of suffering on that in that agenda. There's going to be a lot of suffering. But the truth be told, it's not coming from the world. It's coming from the mind. It's never the world. Whatever you think is never happening in the world. It's happening in your mind. The mind is interpreting and causing you to have an experience, right, that's based on your conditioning, based on the way that you see it, the way that it gets interpreted in your conditioning. And for most of humanity, they don't know that. They think that the world is the cause of their experience. That's why they're in conflict with the world, trying and control other people, to try and control other governments, to try and control other animals, to try and control the future, to try and control the past. Like it's out there, and that's the problem. When in reality, it's not out there. It's in the mind. And if you understand that, it's a life changer, it's a game changer. Why? Because you can't control out there, right? But you can control the mind. You can control what goes on in the mind. Yeah. You've experienced your death already, but you don't believe it. You have. You experienced your death already, but you don't believe that. When you're sleeping, if you have dreamless sleep, that's the same as death. That's the same as death, because if you have dreamless sleep, right, there's nothing happening, literally. There is no objective reality occurring. All there is consciousness. There's no objective reality occurring. Well, that's what death is. All there is consciousness. There's no objective reality occurring. So you're experiencing that. When you move your attention away, when you meditate, you're practicing dying. You're practicing dying, and you should understand it that way. If you understand it that way, what you're doing is honest, what you're doing is authentic, what you're doing is consistent with the nature of reality, to practice dying. When you move your attention away from thinking, the only possible death that could occur happens. When you move your attention away from thinking, the only death that could possibly occur happens. The only death that could possibly occur is the death of the identity that you took to be you when you were thinking. That's the only death that can possibly occur. Because once you move your attention away from that, and you're being the awareness, aware of the body breathing, where is the one that was born? When you're the awareness of the body breathing, where's the one that was born? When you move your attention away from the body breathing, where is the one that was born?
It doesn't exist.
It never did. You see what I mean? It never did. That's a death. That's a death. So you're experiencing the relief of freedom. That's what you're experiencing, the relief of freedom. But it takes a while for that relief to start to affect the experience you're having as you meditate. This is why I say, one of the reasons that people don't succeed in establishing a meditation practice is because they have been conditioned to be impatient, haven't they? So, when you're practicing meditation, you see, if you understand it this way, that when you're practicing meditation, you're preparing to let go of the body. If you understand it this way, it has a different meaning, doesn't it, than just stress reduction? It has a different meaning. Not only does it have that meaning, but it also has the meaning that if you can be successful in letting go of identifying with the personality in the body, if you can be successful at that through this practice, then you're truly free. Then you're truly free. Then you can truly relax and be at home and be at ease and experience life as an opportunity for fun. If nothing can happen to you, what else could it be than an opportunity for fun? That's what's available. That's why they say in the Advaita Vedanta teachings, see, they're not kidding. They're not kidding when they give you that statement of Sat Chit Ananda. They're not kidding. That it is actually always available for you to experience bliss. What is bliss? What is bliss? Bliss is an experience of freedom. Bliss is an experience of there being no threat, an experience of being able to be completely relaxed, completely free, completely at home, completely fulfilled, completely satisfied. That's what's available. They call it bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. What's that mean? It means you exist and your identity is consciousness, and that consciousness is blissful. That's always available. So if you are successful in practicing dying through the practice of meditation, right, where you can let go of identifying with the physical body and the personality, you can die now and be free from the burden of existing as a personality. That's what the death is, right? Don't you see, everybody, Freud used to say that human beings have a death wish. He used to say that all human beings have a subconscious death wish. They want to die. They want to die. And that used to puzzle me, like, well, how's that? How is that the case? But now I understand it. Because isn't it the case that you would like to be have the relief of not being you? Isn't that true? Wouldn't you like to wake up in the morning and not be you? Just be awake? Just be awake and not have the conditioning that is there, right? Because when you wake up in the morning, you're not just awake. You wake up into the personality, and you wake up into the concern, and you wake up into the thought patterns, and you wake up into the schedule, and you wake up into the fact that you're going to die, and you wake up into the condition of your relationships, and you wake up into your finances. So everybody, that's what people are taking medication for. That's what people are smoking pot for, to get a relief from themselves, isn't it? To get a relief from themselves. So what we're talking about here is you can experience the relief that's available in which you don't consider yourself to be a personality. It may still run in your head, but you don't take it seriously anymore because you know it's just a program. It's not you. And not only is it just a program, but it's what it's designed to do severely limits you. What it's designed to do severely limits you to living a life in which fear is a very important experience, because you have to be afraid because there's a lot of things and a lot of people that are out to get you. So it's very important to be afraid all the time. It's very important. If you're going to live the life of a separate self, right, then you want to be afraid all the time, right? So you would be able to see what's coming at you and protect yourself. Who the hell wants to live that life? You know, that's living a life in which you have a full-time job that requires a lot of energy, a lot of repetitive, protective, defensive behaviors, and a lot of being uncomfortable, right? Being uncomfortable, being angry, being afraid. Who wants to live that life? So the biggest thing that you can let go of through the practice of meditation is you. And it turns out you've been the problem all along. If you can experience your awareness being outside of your body, do you understand that it's impossible for you to believe in death anymore after that? How are you going to believe in death? If you're out of the body looking at it, right? If you're out of the body looking at it, what you are that is looking at the body is not the body. So how can you believe in death? So that's the experience. In the story of Jesus Christ, in the story of all the great masters and religious leaders, right? The 40 days and 40 nights, or with Moses, you know, starving themselves. The Buddha did the same thing. Why? Because they wanted to get close enough to actually dying to be able to see the other side. That's what they wanted. You know, because no matter what you think and no matter what you believe and no matter what you practice, until and unless you have the experience of being outside of your body, you don't have an experience of the truth. I mean, you always have an experience of the truth, but it's not believable as long as you keep locating yourself in the body, when it's not true that you're in the body. So all you have to do is keep practicing and studying the teachings and have the conviction that it's true, so that you're not playing games.